welcome to... Well, it's not the first installment of ArchyFantasies Watch This Stuff, but it is the I'm distracting you with my cat version of it. Yeah, hi. Hello. That's mainly so you don't notice that my background is crap. My cohort, and I mean that in the kindest sense, sent me a link. People send me stuff on YouTube. This one I did actually request because we're gonna find out today why extraterrestrials are abducting whales. My guess is because they've come across some kind of space anomaly that can only be communicated through with whale song, and therefore they need a breeding pair from Earth in order to communicate with it so it doesn't destroy their ship. And if you don't recognize that as the plot of a Star Trek movie, you need to go educate yourself, son. Alright, so anyway, I have no idea why extraterrestrials are abducting whales. Maybe for the same reason that they decide to turn cows inside out. I don't know. But I'm sure this video is going to tell us, isn't it? Yeah, it's gonna tell us, isn't it, Bragnir? You go back to sleep now. You gonna watch with me? You gonna actually watch with me?
The marine mammals are the largest of living creatures found on the planet. They cover huge distances in their migrations. Sadly, from time to time, things do not go as they should for these animals, who on occasion end up becoming beached. Everything from changes in the tides, melting icebergs, and shifting food sources have been claimed to force whales to veer off course, this causing them to swim into unfamiliar and shallow waters and possibly even beach themselves. Some say human involvement is to blame. In some cases, a whale may end up beached because it has already died and the tide washed its body ashore. So how could the remains of an animal of such size be found miles from a beach? Why are whales showing up in odd, random locations?
I didn't know they were.
Let's take a look.
Let's be...
Welcome to IF, videos on history, mystery, and the strange. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video again.
Is it we are if or we are subscribe? What am I supposed to take away? Or is it just we are? Or was it supposed to be we are Earth? Like, was there a pun there and I missed it?
Starting here in Thailand, and the sad news that the rotten carcass of a brooder whale was found by local residents deep in a mangrove forest in Tambun Bang Pumai of Sumatra Prakan's Muang district. The brooder whale is a citation that can reach...
Props to your pronunciation, I would have butchered that.
40 to 55 feet in length. It is found worldwide in warm, temperate and tropical waters, just like those of the Gulf of Thailand, which Samut Prakan is located near. Samut Prakan is a stone's throw from the capital city of Bangkok, and is at a junction of the...
Is the whale song part of the music he's playing? Because it's actually really annoying. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit just in case y'all can't hear it. Not the whale song, but him talking.
Chao Phraya River and the Gulf of Thailand. On January 26, the carcass of a female whale, measuring in at around 12 meters long and weighing over 15 tons, were found and then examined. These remains were found to be free from injury. Namanok Banchard Heran Samut of the Napa Gulf of Thailand Conservation Group said he was told 3 days prior that a deceased brooder whale had been seen floating in the Gulf near the river's mouth, some 15 kilometers from Samut Prakan coastline. He and team members had searched for it, but were unsuccessful in finding the animal. It then came to his attention that villagers had found a large whale carcass washed aground in a mangrove swamp about 500 meters from the road to Tambun Bang Pumai. The following Monday, the Chonburi-based 2nd Marine and Coastal Resource Office coordinated with volunteers for marine protection in Tambun Bang Pumai to remove the whale carcass to an appropriate area for examination to establish the cause of death. This investigation is still ongoing. Now this report... does not seem too extraordinary, even with a suspicious cause of death, but it sent me on the search, and I hit upon 2 more stories of beached whales. The difference with these marine mammals is that their remains were found miles from the ocean. Digging deeper, I uncovered a theory that possibly points to alien involvement.
Okay, I can't tell if he is joking. I literally can't tell if he's joking. If I were being serious about something, dead serious about something, I wouldn't use a funny little picture like this, but if I were trying to get a point across and use a little bit of humor, I would do this. So this is... I can't tell if he's joking or not. That's just a really strange leap to go from whales are beached to aliens. Like, I'm sure there are some perfectly logical, normal reasons for whales to end up not on the I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
The first case did receive a lot of attention online. A dead humpback whale left researchers dumbfounded after it was discovered deep in Brazil's Amazon jungle. The whale lay approximately 15 meters from the shore of Araruna Beach along the Majares Bay in South Brazil. Local authorities commented when quizzed on the whale, saying that the spotting of a whale in the region at that time of year was quite rare. This whale was of a similar size to the animal found in Thailand, measuring about 8 meters long and...
It's really flat. Is it supposed to be flat? I don't know much about beached whales, but I know that the whale skeleton that's at the museum isn't flat.
And 10 tons in weight. And in yet another similarity with the Thai whale, a team from the region's municipal Securitate of Health, Sanitation and Environment said...
Okay, the way he is doing this makes it really hard to follow him. I can't tell if this is like a really good bot reading a script that he wrote, or if he's not a native English speaker.
The carcass did not appear to have any visible injuries. The 2 prevailing theories as to how the whale ended up in the brush are either a powerful tide launched the whale inland, or the whale died at sea and was carried onto the land by people. But could there be a third choice?
I mean, sure. Okay, I will admit, being launched via wave is probably the funniest way. But, I mean, it's entirely possible that someone used a reality reversal wave, or what was it that the Heart of Gold had? Improbability drive, and that it just turned a missile into a whale. I mean, did you look for a pot of geraniums, or did you just give up halfway through? I mean, jeez. All I have is this image of this whale that was surfing on the crest of this giant tsunami, and it was like, yeah, and then just like I'm sorry, that's terrible. But okay, it's 10 tons, I get that, but it's not an unreasonable amount of weight for a determined group of people to move. I mean, humans have moved more weight before. We don't know. And you're really not giving us enough information about these different sightings for us to make any determinations. Yeah, there's some weird close-ups of these whales, and I guess they are kind of flat. Huh. Anyway, there's not enough information here for us to make even an educated guess. Like, unless he's got more information than he's sharing, everything is speculation at this point, and there's no reason not to trust a simple, logical explanation, and there's absolutely no reason to jump to aliens.
A choice which would need us to look to the stars to find an answer. Before I look at the extraterrestrial connection, let's hear about the third whale. A dairy farmer from the small town of Farmington near the Great Salt Lake in Utah made an unexpected and...
I wonder if, like, non-Americans think that's what our states look like. Like, that's Utah. Farmington! It's kind of like when I was watching Kingsman and it was Statesman. And they were like, the whole state of Kentucky was just a bourbon brewery. Now, you keep trying to walk on the keyboard.
And remarkable discovery on his property while out looking for a cow that had wandered off. The 69-year-old farmer, a one Michael Woodson, found a 12-meter long humpback whale laying lifeless in the middle of one of his fields, hundreds of kilometers away from its natural habitat.
That
Again,
is weird.
an animal around the same dimensions as the other two whales. There seems to be a pattern forming.
Actually, technically, this one is 4 feet longer than the other two, as I recall. The other two were like 8 feet. No. If I have to watch this, so do you. You got 5 minutes left. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Here, police were called as the man thought this may be a creepy prank by some neighborhood kids. This idea was quickly put to bed as there were no traces of vehicles or movement of the beast. The police admitting that they were at a loss as to how the carcass got there. We have to admit that we find this case very puzzling.
What do any of these images have to do with what he's talking about? Like, I'm more puzzled by the background than I am the actual story. Like, what does any of this have to do with whales?
Said Captain Terry Dawson from the Farmington Police. It is certainly the first time that we see anything like this in our city, and we have very little information for now as to how the animal got there, he added. And this is when our old friends from outer space entered the story. A few witnesses reported seeing some strange flying objects in the area over the 2 days prior to the whale being found. The authorities have confirmed that 911 operators had received a few dozen calls from all of...
Is this an artist's interpretation of the flying objects that were seen in the sky a few days prior to the whale descending? Were they annihilating the city that once stood in the great vastness of Farmington, Utah, and all that was left in remains was a 12-foot long whale? Is that all that was left? Was a flat whale.
over the region reporting the sightings.
What? Really?
We are verifying every clue and information that we have, and I assure you that we will explore every other possibility before we conclude that a UFO has anything to do with this case.
You're my emotional support animal in this,
added Captain Dawson. A team of biologists from the nearby University of Utah were called to the site to examine the remains of the whale. The scientists are trying to determine if the animal could have actually lived in the Great Salt Lake, which is only a few kilometers away from the farm. This case taking a turn for the cryptid, as lake-living whales have been proposed as an answer to the many sightings of lake monsters around the globe. As for what killed the animal, you guessed it, no injuries were found, and the biologists are still testing the whale to find out what killed the humpback. Let's look.
What are sky beasts? Okay, going back to lake-dwelling whales, there aren't any that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Nessie is not a lake-dwelling whale, because I'm pretty sure Loch Ness doesn't have whales. Fine! Abandon me! I'm also willing to go out on a limb and say I'm 95% sure Salt Lake in Salt Lake City, Utah does not have whales, because I do believe the reason it's called Salt Lake is because the saline is so high. I don't think there's life. There might be, I don't know. But there's definitely not whales. I could be wrong.
Look at the alien and
I gotta Google that. Alexa, are there whales in Salt Lake City Lake?
Here's something I found on the web. According to orangesmile.com, the city is also one of the easiest places in the world to spot stunning whale sharks.
It's a whale shark? Whales in Salt Lake City.
According to MeatEater, in 1875, James Wickham, an eccentric British scientist, hypothesized that whales could live in the Great Salt Lake. Determined to test the theory, he went to Australia and captured two 35-foot whales off the southern coast. The whales were brought to San Francisco by boat and shipped to Salt Lake City by railway.
You have my attention. In 1875, James Wickham, an eccentric British scientist, hypothesized that whales could live in Great Salt Lake. Determined to test the theory, he went to Australia and captured two 35-foot whales off the southern coast. The whales were brought to San Francisco by boat and shipped to Salt Lake City by railway. I'm impressed they survived. Wickham released the whales near the mouth of Bear River. He intended for the creatures to stay in a half-mile mesh enclosure, but the whales broke free within minutes of being dropped in their new home. The whales were regularly spotted in the lake for a few years, only to be reportedly killed off by poachers in 1877. Still to this day, occasional accounts of whale sightings sometimes emerge just outside of Utah's capital city. Despite the newspaper coverage, old-timey photos, and detailed backfilled story, this legend is nothing but a hoax. Discredit News, the area's longest-running... Discret News? Anyway, the area's longest-running news organization has debunked this claim multiple times. In 1994, they picked apart the original 1890 article, demonstrating the full report to be full of far-fetched errors. For example, whales don't live to be 400 years old or lay eggs, as the Inquirer claimed. They also couldn't find any records of James Wickham or his crew of fictional biologists. In 2019, they again defeated the hoax by tracking down the creators of the sham photos. In an interview with the paper, the tricksters revealed that they had faked the picture to promote their business, which specializes in preserving old images. There are no whales in Salt Lake, in the Great Salt Lake. Nor has there ever been. Though that's a fun story. And it also explains how they survived being shipped and brought in by rail. I mean, back in the 1800s, I don't think we were capable of doing such a thing. But, yeah. So, the long and the short of it is, there are no lake whales here.
Angle to this story. The practice of cattle mutilation has long been reported, and it is not just...
That's a real photo. My cat abandoned me. I don't need my sash anymore.
Just bovine animals that are targeted. Everything from horses to people have been said to be victims of extraterrestrial abduction and experimentation. Aliens abducting whales to analyze them fits with the pattern of reported behavior.
That was a jump. That was a huge leap. So, because aliens have been reported to mutilate cattle and abduct humans, therefore they are also abducting whales. That's what we're taking away from this. There's no other connection. There's no evidence being presented to support the idea that it was indeed aliens. There's no proof. Other than these unmutilated whales just appearing in places where I don't... Yeah, I mean, Utah's a bit far away for a whale to be. that would be, maybe it fell out of the sky. And maybe it fell out of a plane? I don't know why you would be flying a whale. Anyway, I don't have the time to speculate on to why it would be there, but anything I come up with would still be better than aliens supposedly mutilate cattle, aliens supposedly abduct people, ergo, aliens are abducting whales, not mutilating them, and dropping their dead bodies off in weird places.
Pathologist and YouTuber Scott C. Waring.
Okay, so right here, this is... it took me a minute to realize what it was because it's so pixelated. Clearly, he's just ripping on the Star Trek episode, the Star Trek movie, where Spock goes to talk to the whales.
Wrote in his blog, UFO
That's Spock talking
Daily,
to the whales.
Whales are often taken by UFOs, analysed, and then returned. But sometimes, animals are returned to a location that is not hospitable to them. Apparently, the alien who took this whale had no idea that...
Not this whale. This whale is not a real whale. I mean, it probably was a real whale, but this picture is not real, people.
They only live in water. It looks like aliens make a lot more mistakes than I thought.
This is like when I tell my partner to put things back where they found it. You know, I can't find X. When was the last time you used it? I don't remember. Did you put it back where you found it when you were done with it? No. Well, then how the hell am I supposed to know where it is? I can see this argument happening. Have you seen the whale? No. Who had it last? Well, I did. Well, did you put it back where you found it? No. Well, then how do I know where the whale is? I mean, seriously. There is no logic to this one. This is fun.
This alleged mistake of returning the whales to the wrong...
It is very alleged.
...place makes no sense to me.
No?
The extraterrestrials would understand that animals need to be in a certain environment to...
I mean, that's fair, buddy. It doesn't make sense to anybody.
...to survive. And I think it shows more of a disregard for the animal. Once
So aliens can't make mistakes, therefore this is malicious.
they had learned what they needed, they unceremoniously dumped the carcass. This also highlighting the lack of concern that they have in regards to us, humanity, learning of their existence and what they are doing. Some more down-to-earth reasons have been given. These include stranded calves. These animals may have been travelling with mothers and could have gotten lost or separated during their migratory cycle between the two continents. These animals alone failed to survive, died, and were washed inland along rivers by the tides and weather. Maybe large waves pushed their bodies far inland. Now, that has me more confused. It would have to be some wave to carry the remains of a humpback whale 5 miles inland through a populated area and then deposit it on a farm in Farmington, Utah, all with no witnesses. What do you think is moving these whales to locations they have no place being? Is it extraterrestrials, bad weather, or just pranksters? Let me...
I mean, you've only got 3. If everything you say is factually correct, it is weird. I will give you that. But there's nothing other than this is just weird. There's nothing here to suggest aliens, like, at all. Just because you don't want to believe the natural explanations that are being given, which I will admit seem odd. I don't know why. I mean, poachers maybe, but why would you go through this much effort and then leave the thing you were trying to poach? But yeah. So everything else here is just kind of a wrap-up. We're not going to watch it. And I am thoroughly unconvinced that aliens are involved in any way, shape, or form. And I'm also doubting the reality of these stories. I may or may not look it up. It's not really archaeology, but there you have it. I watched it. This was a nice break. I'm going back to watching Raising Dion because that show is actually really good. from We Are If. It is We Are If. Well, we will be watching We Are If more often. Until next time, my friends, find your tinfoil hats and your tinfoil underwear. Keep them close. You never know when the aliens are going to come to abduct you. And a whale.